Forward Base Sawano at Zeno Island. Appendix A. Development. Hello everyone. Tactical Cat here. No longer just narrating. Forward Base Sawano at Zeno Island was really pretty unconventional as a story. A few years ago, a group of fans of the Japanese composer Sawano Yuki all joined a Discord community dedicated to the appreciation of his music. Sawano likes to write various soundtracks across tons of genres. He does Japanese television dramas called J-dramas, Nintendo games like Xenoblade X, one of my favorites, sometimes anime OST, probably what he's best known for. And that Discord that we all joined was led by a user named Nigel, who also loved his works. For about 2 years, at least as long as I was there, we just chatted about his new music, gushed about the stuff we really liked in the past. We met sometimes in these huge voice calls where we would put on a mix of someone's music for an hour or so, just listen to that, appreciate it, and just chat about life. Nigel would sometimes play his own edits, which were very impressive. And then we'd just enjoy someone's music together. He also had us do spotlights sometimes, where we would write a little bit about our favorite pieces, and then we would post it to one of the Discord channels, and everybody could share how they appreciated that piece. I remember I did mostly his lyrical works. I did one for Sonos of Fern, I think Ashes, Call of Silence, because I really related to the stories. After a few months, we had some pretty rapid turnover. The older members of the server just got busy with their lives. They just kept going on. And those tended to be right before I joined in, so I didn't really know many of them. Probably the major ones that you would know through the story were the old moderators, Alfonso, LJB, and Offers, the old farts, and R2S, who I never met. As I mentioned in the appendix, the leadership turnover rate is usually pretty fast over Discord communities like this. So, as they grew up, they had, of course, younger generations come in. That's where my story begins with the Sawano server. My brother and I, Silence Bomb and Tactical Cat, we became pretty popular around the server. People called us Now and Yuki nicknames, and Nigel had us join the moderator team. Mostly just because we were a little bit older than everybody else, so we were pretty good at that position. And we liked hanging out with other people. We had a lot of time, just high schoolers. What else do you do? And we were quickly joined by a few other admins, Zezus Toby. I call him Zezus. He's Toby in the story just because it's a nickname. And he was pretty objective, very good at his job, always busy, of course. I mean, we were too. And we chatted like crazy. Sometimes we'd have whole hours-long conversations about philosophy or science or linguistics. I've learned a lot from these guys. After him, we had Adam. He spelled his name A-T-E-M, and that's where the apostrophe M came from, because I wanted to make it look like an alien, so Lunarian Atom. And he was recruited mostly because we needed time zones outside of Europe. Zezus and Now and Yuki, us, could all do Europe and Asia, and so we needed some North American moderators. So along with Adam, we got Ken, who I think was just a helper when we were still serving there. And Ken was always reading manga. He always had some really unique story of some sort to recommend to people, so that definitely got carried into the story. Eventually the server just grew. It got huge. It was at least a few thousand members. And we still had a core group of members, which are the people who feature in this story, the people I remember the best. We hung out regularly, and you could always expect them to come on at least once within the week, even though, of course, we were all busy with our high school lives. Sometimes we'd have people leave because they got insecure. Some people had relationships online. Sometimes they just larked. The moderators tended to do that. We would just do our basic job, make sure things were going along usually, and if we didn't have anything to chat about, we would just keep watch, the usual. Sometimes it was inactive. Sometimes we'd just look for tardigrades under a microscope. I remember doing that. And sometimes it wasn't peaceful. We had quite a few times where, because it was such a large invisible server, we got raided by bots. Just infinite series of fake users that would just join the server in mass. Sometimes they would spam in mass. And it was always an eventful day when the moderators had to just clean up all of this mess. Sometimes, along with these bot raids, we did have some people who were consistently misbehaved, I would say. Two of the famous names would be Rad and Tridion. They were very young. I don't fully understand what they were up to. I don't know what they wanted to this day. I don't know if anybody understood them. But eventually they broke so many rules that we just banned them. And then they tried to subvert the ban by making alternate accounts, which again isn't allowed. As a moderator team, it was a lot of drama trying to sort through this. Nell and I weren't personally emotionally invested because it was a side hobby, but we knew that these unstable debacles did sometimes affect the normal membership. So it was definitely worth learning how to deal with issues like this. Trying to be calm, for example. Overall, it was a good community. A lot of what I remember about it was just the joy that we shared talking about Sawano's music. Sometimes we had arguments, sometimes it was just felt like young teenagers in high school talking, which is exactly what it was. But the core members from that server that we were all part of are no longer on that server at the moment. Currently, we're on a different server that I created. A little bit more about that later. There was a bit of drama. One day, one of our moderators was discharged from his duties, and there was uproar. Nobody knew why. I don't even remember if there was a justified reason, but what I do remember was that the moderator team in general had noticed there had been news that Nigel was doing something that was probably not legal. And I remember in order, we all tried to address the issue with him. And in order, he discharged all of us from our positions. And after he discharged, I think, Toby... No, it might not have been him first. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I remember I was let go, and it made a lot of the core members angry. They preferred to follow the group instead of following Nigel, because nobody trusted Nigel after that. So eventually, en masse, that core group left his server, including the moderators. And we jumped around to different servers, whatnot. Sometimes it just didn't last, sometimes we had to leave, sometimes the other leaders just couldn't handle the stress. So it was a period of a bit of uncertainty. Some of our fellow moderators were quite disturbed by it. They had trusted Nigel, and he broke that trust, which you can see in the plot of Forward Base Sawano. Eventually, I just decided, well, you know what? Let's make a stable place. So I made a new server. It's private, but every single member has ultimate permissions to do whatever the heck they like. And that has made it very quiet. It's a pretty quiet place. Most of us are growing up now. I'm in uni, for example, after 2 years now. A lot of them have jobs, they work, focusing on education. Sometimes we'll drop in, but it's not really an active place. It's just there, I guess, almost as a sort of commemoration. And as I mentioned on the server, my major goal for keeping that server together was actually quite selfish. I really wanted to share this story. I started this story even before all of this drama with Nigel and the leaving the server. At one point, I think we were dealing with some bot raids and members who were trying to make alternate accounts, and Toby suggested a plot outline, which is in the appendix of the actual story. You can see it written out, the way he wrote it out with some of his names. And I said, hey, this would make a really interesting story. And then I started fleshing it out. I started with John, and it kept going and going, and I thought it would be a very short story, and it turned out the whole document is 56 pages. Of course, including appendices. I was not expecting that length. I didn't think it would take 2 years to finish. Of course, I didn't work on it over uni years, because I was focusing on studies. But yeah, after these 2 years, once this summer of 2022 came, I decided to visit our parents back in Germany, which is where I grew up, and I just ran into it. I spent one whole week, 7 days exactly, rushing through the end. I'm just writing nonstop. I've never written that much before, straight. And ultimately, what Sawano Base represents isn't supposed to be a denigration of Nigel's mistakes. I don't care about that. Actually, I never really did. I think, even though this was in some ways a way to think about what had happened and let go of the drama, it was also a celebration. Because Nigel brought us together, which means, ultimately, I have to thank him for the plot, and everybody else on that Sawano server, because I wouldn't have a cast or a plot without them. He was the one who brought us together. Originally, Admiral Nigel was supposed to be the respected distant leader of the war front. But then, of course, after the drama happened, I thought, well, this will make as good of a plot as any. Maybe he'll be the big bad. Maybe we'll reflect life events in our actual plot here. So it was loosely based on real life events, with a large fantastical science fiction element. Overall, I still appreciate Nigel for everything he gave us, the memories and experiences. The whole point of the story was to encapsulate the bizarre closeness of this community. We're so busy today that most of us never interact. It's just an anarchic little quiet server. Right now it's called Quack. And the name changes constantly. Sometimes the profile image changes, and I don't know who does it. It doesn't really matter. We have people from two sides of the world, everywhere from Singapore to Indonesia to the Netherlands to the US, and then you have displaced US people like Now and me. I've never met these people in real life. I don't know their names. Sometimes I don't even know what they do as work. But we still shared quite some interesting stories. Lots of drama, lots of laughter. And I hope this story overall can commemorate the pathway we took to get here. I hope its readers can appreciate where we started more, enjoy some Sawano music along the way, and in the end, just remember that even though there might be drama, even though the entire server might crash down and you'll never see it again, we're still part of the same community, and we all love Sawano's music. And that's why we're all together still. We love the same thing. So ultimately, this story is dedicated to you guys at Quack, until you change the name again. I wrote it just to say thanks, really. I hope you enjoy. I had a lot of fun creating this story. Lots of humorous elements, lots of hard work. Sometimes I had to go research through the search patterns on Discord to see how people talked and exaggerated. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It's a great project. Looking back on it over 2 years, with all the art I've done, the audiobook version, I've never created something of this scale before. And originally it was supposed to be just a joke. So I have you guys to thank for a lot. Be sure to enjoy. Have fun with the concert. And yeah, signing off.